Hello student, welcome again to my class. And in the previous class I have taught you about the energy from unit 3 class 10. In this class I will continue the alternative source of energy which we have discussed in the previous class. In the previous class I have taught you about the biogas, the biofuel. In our class, in our today's class, we will read about the nuclear energy and the wind energy. So if you want to see my previous video, you can find in our YouTube channel. You can search there. Today we will discuss about the nuclear energy. Energy which is obtained from the fusion of the nuclei or the fission of the nuclei is called as the nuclear energy. Fusion means to fuse together, to add together, and the fission means to split together, to break down into the smaller one, that is the fission. So there are two types of the nuclear energy, that is the fusion energy and the fission energy. So energy which is the production of the energy which is stored in the nucleus of an atom, that is the nuclear energy. That is the simple definition of the nuclear energy. This produces a large amount of the energy by the process of the nuclear reaction. And its type, I have already told you, there are two types of the nuclear energy, and they are nuclear fusion and the nuclear fission reactions. So first is nuclear fusion reaction. Let's see about the nuclear fusion reaction. In this reaction, two lighter nuclei combine to form a heavy nucleus, and during this combination a tremendous energy is released, or the large amount of the energy is released in this process. But for the release of the tremendous amount of the energy, there must be some condition, that is very high pressure and the very high temperature. So the temperature required by the nuclear fusion reaction is 100 millions degree Kelvin, and this is very high temperature that this cannot be fulfilled, or this cannot be carried out in our earth. That's why this is not possible in our planet Earth. This type of reaction is occurred in the sun and the stars, because in the sun and the star there is the high amount of the temperature and high amount of the pressure. Temperature required by the nuclear fusion reaction is 100 million degree Kelvin. More than the 100 million degree Kelvin, it is not possible in the earth. So nuclear fusion reaction, the example of the nuclear fusion reaction is the production of the hydrogen bomb, or the production of the energy by the sun. That is the nuclear fusion energy product. Here is the animation of the nuclear fusion reaction. Here the hydrogens become the helium. Hydrogen is the smallest some of the elements, and the isotopes, we will talk about the isotopes of the hydrogen. Isotopes, they are the members of the same elements which contains the same number of the protons, but their number of the neutron is different. So generally there are three types of the isotopes which we read in the 10th class, and they are protium, deuterium, and the tritium. So protium means the isotope of hydrogen which contains the one proton and which does not have any neutron, or the zero neutron. Deuterium is the isotope of the hydrogen which contains the one proton and the one neutron. And the tritium is the one proton which contains the one proton and two neutron. Here we can see that fusion of the fusion means to fuse together to become one. So we can see the tritium here and the deuterium here. They are going to fuse together to form a helium in the one extra nucleus. So neutron, not nucleus, nuclear, neutron. So this produces a huge amount of the energy, and this energy is carried out in the sun, which is possible only in the sun and the other stars, but not possible in the earth. The reason I have already told you. So here also there is one deuterium and the other tritium. They are going to fuse together, and during the process of the fusion it produces a large amount of the energy. So that was all about the nuclear fusion reaction. And the second type is nuclear fission reaction. So in this reaction, one heavy nucleus is bombarded into the two lighter nuclei, and this process is continue in the form of the chain reaction. We will see about the animations of the chain reaction. I will show you that video. In this type of the reaction, also a huge amount of the energy is released. So it is carried out in the earth in the nuclear power plants. It does not require that much of the large amount of the temperature and the pressure which was required by the nuclear fusion reaction. That's why it can be controlled in the earth. That's why in the form of the nuclear power plants. So we can see here one nuclei is going to bombard with the heavy nucleus of the uranium. It will split into the many other small neutrons or the nuclei. So this is the chain reactions. In the chain reaction, the process of the bombarding of uranium atom by the one nucleus will be continue, and this is in the form of the chain reaction. You can see here. I hope and some ideas about the chain reaction from this animation. Let's see again. Now we will discuss about the difference of nuclear fusion reaction and the nuclear fission reaction. Let's see here. Nuclear fusion reaction. In the nuclear fusion reaction, as I have already told you, two lighter nuclei will combine to form a heavy nucleus. So in the nuclear fission reaction, one heavy nucleus will be split off into the two lighter nuclei or the many other lighter nuclei. In the nuclear fusion reaction, it produces much more energy than the nuclear fission reaction. But in the nuclear fission reaction, comparatively less amount of the energy is produced during the nuclear fission. And the nuclear fusion reaction, it cannot be controlled or carried out in the earth because it requires the large amount of the temperature and the large amount of the pressure. But the nuclear fission reaction, it is possible in our earth. It can be controlled in the nuclear power plant. So let's discuss about the nuclear advantage of the nuclear energy. The first advantage is they produce the excessive amount of energy compared to any other sources of the energy. I will tell how much of the energy is produced during the nuclear production of the nuclear power plant. This is the schematic diagram of the nuclear power plants, and here we can see the picture. And in the picture, first is reactor vessel. In the reactor vessels, the uranium is bombarded in the form of the chain nuclear reactions or the chain nuclear fission reaction, which the animation I have already shown you. So in the reaction vessels, the uranium is bombarded. And the function here is the control units. The function of the control unit is to control the heat generated in the nuclear reactor vessels. So control units will control the generation of the heat. Pressurizer control the pressure in the nuclear power plants. And here is the steam generator. In the steam generator, this compartment is filled with the one type of the special water. That water is called as the heavy water, and its formula is E2O. The water which we use for the drinking purpose or the other household purpose is H2O. But the heavy water, this water is also found in our earth, and that is E2O. And this is filled here in the steam generator. Due to the enormous amount of the heat energy produced by the reactor vessels, the heavy water will be evaporated into the steam. That steam will be in a high speed and the high velocity, which has to rotate the turbine here. The turbine is again joined with the shaft, this rod like structure. This is a shaft, and this shaft is connected with the generator. From the generator we can generate the electricity. The electricity is very huge. So again the steam is reached to the condenser chamber. Here is the condenser chamber, and in the condenser chamber the heavy water which is in the form of the steam will be again converted into the liquid. We know about the condensation. Condensation is the process of conversion of the liquid gases into the or the steam into the liquid again. So this process will be continue in the one nuclear fission cycle. So I have told you that this nuclear power plant can produce a enormous amount of the energy, and that energy is one fission cycle or the one atomic nuclear fission reaction. It can produce the 200 mega electron volt energy. That is so much power. And 1 kg of the uranium, which is used in the reactor vessels, in the reactor vessel generally the uranium is used. So the 1 kg of the uranium can produce the energy which is equivalent to the energy produced by the 4500 tons of the coals. If we burn the 4500 tons of the coal, the same amount of the energy can be produced by the uranium, 1 kg of the uranium. So here is also the another schematic diagram of the nuclear power plant, which is same to the previous one. And the next advantage of the nuclear energy is they do not pollute the environment as like as the coal, petrol, diesel, others non-renewable sources of the energy. That is the next advantage of the nuclear energy. But beside the many advantages, beside the nuclear fission produce the large amount of the energy, there are so many disadvantages of the nuclear energy, and they are very costly. To set up the nuclear power plant, it requires a large amount of the money and the economy. So this is very costly one. Their waste are very lethal to the human life. Lethal means they can kill the human life. If that is, if they are come to contact with the radioactive waste, any humans who come to the contact with the radioactive waste means the waste which are produced after the one nuclear fission cycle. So if any human beings, any person come to the contact with the radioactive waste, they can cause the radiation sickness and they can cause the immediate death also. So it is very dangerous. They can cause the cancer. That is the next disadvantage of the nuclear energy. They can be misused by the terrorists to make the nuclear weapons. We have heard about the atom bomb which was dropped in the Hiroshima and the Nagasaki, and these types of the tremendous weapons are made by the nuclear energy, nuclear fission reaction. So they may be harmful for the human life also. These are the disadvantages of the nuclear energy. Now our next topic of the alternative source of energy is the wind energy. And it is the another kind of the alternative source of energy which we have been discussing from the previous class, which is obtained from the fast flowing air. Wind energy is the energy that is converted from that is generated from the fast blowing air. It is one of the oldest form of the energy which is being used by the people from the ancient time. So in the ancient time, these types of the wind energy was used for sailing the boat, ship, running the windmill, etc. These were the simple techniques to use the wind energy in the old times. Now, prospect of the wind energy in Nepal. Possibilities of the wind energy in our country, Nepal. What are the possibilities? So, Nepal is a mountainous country. There are so many hills. There are so many mountains in our country. Here, the air is always blowing in a fast speed and the velocity. That's why there may be the possibilities to produce the huge amount of the wind energy, to generate the huge amount of the wind energy in our country, Nepal. Mountains, generally in the mountains and the hills of our country, Nepal. The setup cost for this type of energy is minimal. That means it is very cheap compared to the other type of the alternative source of energy like solar energy. Solar energy also requires a large amount of the money. Nuclear energy, it requires the huge amount of the money. But the wind energy, it can be set up comparatively in the low cost as compared to the nuclear energy and the solar energy. This is the simple figure of the wind harness or the wind energy harness. So here is also the simple technique of using the wind energy. This turbine will rotate and the turbine is connected to the shaft. This rod is the shaft which rotates the generator there, and from the generator we can convert the energy into electricity here. This is the electrical powerhouse. The energy which is produced from the rotation of the turbine by the help of the wind will be harnessed, collected in the electricity power plant house, and from here the energy can be distributed to the other people. So this is the next beneficial alternative source of energy. Now, ways of promoting alternative source of energy. We have come to the conclusion of the alternative source of energy. There are so much type of the alternative source of energy. I have not taught you solar energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy. All of these are also the types of the alternative source of energy, and all of these types of the energy have certain types of the advantage as well as their disadvantage also. By minimizing their disadvantage, we can use them as our beneficial source of energy. They are comparatively very good and very nice uh, as compared to the non-renewable sources of energy. So now, how to promote the alternative source of energy in our country? We know, I have already told you in the previous class, Nepal has not the proper source of fossil fuels. So our country needs to import the fossil fuel from the other country. In the process of importing the fossil fuels from the other country, we have to spend a lot of amount of the money. That's why we can promote the alternative source of energy. The alternative source of energy can be produced in our country by using the simple techniques I have already taught you. So countries should focus on the alternative source of energy, as we do not have the own reserve of the fossil fuel like the coal, petrol, diesel, etc. People must be educated about the harmful impact caused by the non-renewable sources of the energy. I have already taught you the harmful impact which were caused by the non-renewable sources of energy, is like they can pollute the environment, they can cause the different types of the respiratory illness or the disease. So they are very harmful to the health as well as the environment. That's why the people must be aware, the people must be educated about the harmful impact which are caused by the overuse of the non-renewable sources of the energy. So government should motivate the people to use the alternative source of energy. If we do this, if we follow these points, we can promote the alternative source of energy in our country. And if we develop the alternative sources of energy in our country, we will be uh, we will not have to depend on the others country for the energy. This is the end of our class for today. This is the end of our alternate discussion of alternative source of energy. I hope you like my class. I hope you will have some confusions or some types of the questions. You may comment in the. So thank you, class.